Hi, this is Cherry Marie again, coming back with you with another homeless shelter video. There's a lot of traffic on the street, so forgive me. I'm in South Central Los Angeles, near Slauson and Western Avenue, and I'm standing in front of a church/homeless shelter ministry known as Testimonial Cathedral Church of God in Christ, and they have a school, and the founder is Bishop J.B. Hackworth. At the time I became homeless, this is one of the locations I came to the shelter. I was not a member of the church, but I'll show you where the shelter, and it was for women and children at that time. And this was during the 90s, again, around the same time I went through the whole process. It was a 10-year period. And this is one stop I made. One of the worst ever memories I have of my homeless experience during that time. So I'm going to walk down the other way. This is a whole half a block, almost seems like a property that this church owns. And as you see here, if you can see a sign with his name on it, I don't know if the sun's blocking it, but it says Bishop J. Bernard Hackworth Square. And I was shocked, because if people really would actually reward this person, this bishop, I'm just shocked. So this is the side of the church. I'm just walking towards the actual location where I stayed at the shelter. This is the entry to the church. I remember entering here. It's closed. As usual, most churches are closed on weekdays. Today is Thursday. It's not Sunday. So right now, this is the shelter. See if I can get a better view. Hold on. Go to the other way. Okay, this is the shelter where I actually stayed. And yeah, that's the shelter. I was a resident here with women and children. And wow, it seemed like forever. But I did stay here for quite a while, and it was just unbelievable. And I'm going to walk to the side to give you a little interview about what happened. And during this time I stayed at this shelter, I experienced so much abuse. I experienced a lot of harassment and sexual harassment. It's really noisy here. I stayed here, and when I came here to this shelter, homeless, with other women and children, I came by myself, but there were other women and children stayed here, and I was just shocked how I was treated. Well, to enter in, I had to take a drug test. And taking the drug test, I had to shockingly urinate in front of one of their staff members, who was not actually, she was, I think, a relative. She was not qualified to do this type of work, but she was. I have to walk because there's so much traffic on the street and it's noisy. So I'm gonna walk a little bit further so I can talk better. I'm gonna walk it down a little bit ways. You see how busy this street is? There's everything going on, and it's way more busy than then. But again, this is a corner, this is a mecca. This is a hot spot in South Central, Slauson and Western. There's a lot of activity going on here all the time. But if you see Testimonial Love Center, I don't know, this place was not here. This part was not here when I came. It's an annex, I guess. They own probably most of this property on this half of this block, if not all the block. So I'm just like, again, I went to that experience through having to do a urine drug test. And I've never used drugs in my life, never. But I had to do that, and I did it. And I did it. I to this day, it was an abuse. And I experienced that, and I suffered through that. And there's nothing I could do because I have nowhere to go. And this is a church, mind you. And although the bishop himself was not there to administer the test, his staff was. And the person who gave me the test was a female, but she was actually like a maintenance person and worker there, and was not supposed to be doing those type of things. But nevertheless, she did. She was paid to do that. She was paid to do that work, and she did it. And I'm assuming she must have had to be a lesbian, because who's going to stand there and watch force someone to urinate in a cup? And she didn't do it. And I've heard of that's the only drug test I've ever had in my life. And I believe that she did that on purpose, not only for me, but she was doing it to other people coming in there because of the position we were in. And I know that she took advantage of me, and she took advantage of other women coming in there, and she didn't have to do that, because a drug test administered, a person, as far as I believe, will not stand there and watch you urinate in a cup. You go into the bathroom and you bring it out. And she stood there behind the door, as a matter of fact. She stood behind the door. She stood in front of the door with the door open and watched everything. So that's just showing how this person really had some big problems, and she took advantage of me and took advantage of other people. So that was one of the worst experiences. Not the only one, but far, far worse than all the other experiences that I had. So, again, it's really hard getting the shot because there's a security guard out here and I don't want him to see me. But this is the building. Actually, this is the middle, next door to the church. And let me talk about the church. Let me walk down to the church again. I'm going to walk past him and then give you an idea basically of what was actually going on there. So I'm just going to walk the other way towards where the church is. Back down this way to the church. Still on Western Avenue going north. So I'm back in front of the church. You see how close the properties are. They're all one string. This is directly the front door of the church. And probably this is a better spot for me to talk. So again, another thing that happened to me while I was at the shelter, we were forced to go to church as residents. We had no choice. We had to attend church services. We also had to attend classes. We had to attend family classes, and I didn't have children. There were women who had children here, but even the single women had to attend classes here. There were other classes, like 2 or 3 classes that we had to attend. We also had to attend the church services, and we also had to give our donations, our tithes and offerings of money. And what I learned about this particular place is that when I was going there, mind you, this was 94, 95-ish, this particular church at the time was operating. They did not allow you to exit the church unless they received a certain amount of money. Ironically, during that time, they closed the doors until they received a certain amount of money. So I was like shocked. I was like, I've never seen so many people doing that. And when you close the doors and people cannot exit the church until they receive a certain amount of tithes and offering, that's corruption. That's not God at all. That's not Jesus Christ. I'm standing in front of the end of the church part, and I see they have a plaque here. It says Testimonial, Cathedral, Church of God in Christ. He's gotten a lot of awards. This Bishop Hackworth is quite known. He was the head of the Church of God in Christ at one time. This one says 2009. So he's been around for a while. He's got all kind of awards and accolades. But I remember meeting him, and when I shook his hand, he had this big cluster of diamond, huge rock on his hand, and his hands were butter soft. That's one thing I remembered about him. This church apparently has been here for a while, and I never knew about it until I came to the shelter. And I see these buses were not here. They've done a lot of things since I was here. This is 2020, so this is a while ago. But at the same time, other things that happened to me and other people here, there were a lot of abuses. The women and the children, we had to do chores, and it was, basically forced. We were forced to do chores. And, well, people say, oh, it's okay, but this is a church. So, the church is supposed to show the love of Christ. The church is supposed to show the love of Christ. And there it says Love Center, Testimonial Love Center. There was definitely no love, none, not towards me or the women and children that were staying at that time. Now, maybe they've changed, maybe they've repented. I hope they have, because it's not going to help their soul when they die, for sure. But I know, having been sexually harassed and abused in a place like this, having to give up at that time I was receiving welfare food stamps. We had to give our food stamps up. We had to tithe an offering, and we were locked in the churches until the income, the amount that they wanted to receive. And it wasn't just us. The people who were going to Bible study had to give whatever offerings and tithes at that time, and they would not let the people out. In fact, I was shocked because they actually locked the doors. They locked the doors. And so that in itself was enough. And then like I said, the drug test, and that was just unbelievable. And I tried to, and I did complain about it. I filed a report about that, and everybody just ignored me, because when you're homeless, people don't care. They don't listen, and they didn't care. They harassed us even more. In fact, I was forced out of this place because I was making too much noise. I was telling what their business was, what was going on. And most of their family members were working here at that time. The staff they were hiring, some of them, not all of them, were family members, and they got away with murder, literally. And the bishop himself, again, I never really saw him except for that Bible study time. One time I met him. Other than that, his family members and staff were in charge, and they were very abusive, verbally and otherwise. So those particular things really stood out to me. And this area where he's got all the accolades and awards, has not improved. So I feel like he should have improved not only this ministry, he should have improved everything, and he should have repented. I don't know, maybe he has. Maybe he has, but this is just another stop, a very evil, wicked stop. And another thing that we experienced, we were in I was, and the other women that were staying there at the shelter, the women and children were staying here at this time, how they verbally abused us on a regular basis. And they also took the food donations, where we got food donations from the outside, and they took those donations and gave it to the people in the church, the members of the church, not to us or like people in the community necessarily. But they got first pick. They really controlled everything. Everything coming in came to them. So I'm recording this. Again, this is another stop on the homeless route that I went for over 10 years. Testimonial Cathedral Church of God in Christ, Testimonial Love Center, which did not show me love. It was very wicked and evil. Take care.